Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shelf Space with Kino Lorber, where we talk about all things physical media with Kino Lorber's head of acquisitions, Frank Tarzi. Today is all about the fans, as we'll be spending most of the episode answering your audience questions. So thank you to everyone who submitted a question ahead of time. If you would like to submit a question for a future episode, be sure to sign up for our newsletter to get on the email list. And if you have a customer service question, please submit those at the link in the video description below. Hey Frank, how's it going? I'm back. It's my first Shelf Space episode since giving birth. I missed you.
Well, congratulations. We missed you too. I heard you had a lovely daughter, so I'm very happy to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. How are you doing? How's your summer going? Have you seen any good movies lately?
Um, I used summer movie season was my thing as a kid. I used to not miss anything, but now it's like my friend, she kind of tricked me into going to see uh, the Jurassic Park movie. She like, I got a surprise for you. Got me in the car, pretty much kidnapped me and took me to the theater. And once we got there, she was like, "That's it. That's what we're seeing." I said, "Oh, I thought you were gonna bring me to see Superman." She was like, "No, no, it's gonna be Jurassic Park." I was like, "All
Well,
right."
how was it? Did you like it?
It's she loves the film, so that's why she wanted to see it, show it to me. I thought it was a little formulaic or whatever they say. It was like just I wasn't too crazy about it. It had some good sequences, but overall, I would say it was not a great movie. It was a pretty good film. So
Okay. Are you?
I've heard Superman is really good, so that's the one I'm kind of looking forward to. So
Yeah, I've heard that's really good. I've heard Fantastic Four is really good. I've heard Weapons is really good. It's a real.
yeah, weapons looks very interesting. I saw the trailer for that. So
Yeah, I mean, it's not the typical summer blockbuster, but I there's a really like great resurgence of really well done horror right now. So I'm really excited about that. Are you into summer blockbusters, or is that not really your thing? Is there a particular kind of movie
well,
you
when I was a kid, when I used to go to see movies, the summer season was always the most exciting time for me because those were the kind of films I loved watching, the Ghostbusters and the Indiana Jones movies and Poltergeist, all those kind of films that opened in the summer. They were always like they were these. But I thought the spring there was always like a lot of sleepers. Some smaller films got opened that were really really great. The under the radar stuff that they didn't think were big enough to be released in the summertime. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure if the I think Escape from New York was not a summer movie, but I'm not sure. It's been a long, long time ago. But the main thing is that there was a lot of films like The Thing, and so I loved the summer season. And of course you had the Christmas season was the other season that was pretty much what they still call the Oscar season, where they released a lot of films that they thought were award worthy. I personally, love genre, so that was like my favorite time to go see movies. I remember the '80s very fondly. I remember seeing all the big blockbusters, the Predator and Aliens and all that stuff. Die Hard, all those things, Lethal Weapon, all of those films in the theaters. A lot of them I actually saw on either sneak previews or I remember seeing Lethal Weapon sneak preview. So when it was over, I stayed to watch Over the Top, which was the film that was actually playing in the theater, and maybe because it was after I watched it. I watched it after Lethal Weapon, but it was so bad. I just felt like it was like such a bad film. But I saw it later on. It's pretty bad. It's still not very good. It's not one of Stallone's best, but you know. But overall, that was well. It kind of changed because they kind of started opening a lot of. They started like starting. And I don't know what it was. It was probably in the late '90s, early 2000s. They started doing big blockbusters in March and April. I think Matrix opened in April. And then used to be like around Memorial Day weekend was when the summer season started. It came to a point where they were making these big, very expensive movies, and they didn't want them to go up against each other. So whichever film was the one everybody was afraid of, everybody kind of stayed away from. So it came to a point where they were like, well, these windows are closed. These windows, and a lot of theaters would not play them. So that's why a film like The Matrix, which is very much a summer movie, opened earlier. And then eventually, I think they started releasing big blockbusters, and even in March and earlier in the year too. So
Yeah, that's true. I remember Avengers Endgame, I think, was in the spring.
yeah.
Something like that. Well, cool. Any other movies you're excited to see that's out right now or coming up?
Um, no, not really. I mean, I haven't seen. When I watch the trailers, I once in a while I'm like, okay, this looks really interesting. Let me go see it. But then the film shows up, and I don't. And I'm not seeing it. So, um, I wish I could get excited about movies the way I used to. But kind of being in the business and stuff like that, I think you also kind of lose. When I'm at home now, I end up watching a lot of like TV shows, and or when I'm watching a movie, I'm watching something like I've watched previously, like something that I own in my collection. And like there's some movies I watch every year, once or twice. Not twice. There's nothing I watch twice in a year, but I would say there's some movies I still watch every year or so, like The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and Where Eagles Dare, and there's like some films I really love, like Death Hunt is a really one of those films I really enjoy watching. The Professionals, with but there's some films that I really really that never get old for me. The more I watch them, the more I appreciate them and stuff like that. Guns and Navarone is another one I really love. So, but
Well, do you have any announcements that you want to talk about before we get into audience questions?
yeah, another one I went to was The Shining. I usually watch that every Halloween. Um, I don't really have any announcements. We've kind of we're close to signing some deals. We're very close to signing a Universal deal. We're about to add a couple of titles, one major one to the current MGM deal. There's a few films left from the MGM package that I don't want to confirm yet. We also may change our way of doing things a little bit. We've kind of known for doing these weekend announcements every weekend, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, usually on Twitter and Facebook. And the fans usually share them on the forums like Blu-ray.com or Home Theater Forum and places like that. Um, but the studios are, I think, kind of against us doing that sometimes. And the fans are just coming to a point where you announced this over a year ago. Where is it? We're not, like I said, we're releasing film. It's very complicated. We acquire a film thinking it's going to be pretty simple release, and then all of a sudden we run into roadblocks. Film elements cannot be found. Film elements could be found, but the person who has it is not responding to us. So many different reasons. The negative is in really bad shape, so that's going to need a lot more work. It's going to cost a lot more money. And right now, the Abbott and Costello collection, I was originally going to release the box set and the standalone releases all in November, October or November. That's what I was planning originally. But I can't do them because one of the films, the studio preservation department has held on to one of the films. They've already done they've already finished Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein, but they also want to do Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And no, I'm sorry. They're gonna do The Killer, Boris Karloff, and so that's not gonna be available to us until next year. So there's no way for us to put out the box set. So we're gonna end up releasing the standalone titles, like 3 or 4 of them this year, and then the last 2 in the box set next year.
You never know what obstacles are going to pop up, right? I mean, I feel like so many people, you're going to see in the questions that some people ask, like, it's been, blah, blah, blah. It's been 6 months, a year. Where is it?
Yeah, I mean, I could answer each one separately. Answer each one separately. We have, what I'm working on right now. I'm working on a Universal deal. I'm going to start working on another MGM deal pretty soon. Small Studio Canal renewals and titles. I'm also talking to another studio. I don't want to mention anything there yet. I'm hoping something comes out of that. Um, there's always an outside chance of us doing another Lionsgate deal. I've talked to them in the past. So, um, but I cannot kind of confirm anything. And as far as unconfirmed announcements, titles that we haven't announced yet, there's only like 4 or 5 left, and well, 5 or 6 maybe, and I cannot. And I cannot confirm any of them at this moment. So,
Can you talk a little bit about Happy Gilmore since the sequel is coming out this year?
yeah, I mean, when I picked up Happy Gilmore, when I asked for it, I didn't know they were going to do a sequel, and then the sequel was a surprise. So I was, very happy that they're doing a sequel.
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
Uh, I watched the sequel. It's pretty good. It's not as good as the original. A lot of cameos and stuff like that. But Billy Madison is also coming out. Both of those are out now. So I know. I think Happy Gilmore's coming out in August. Billy Madison came out in July. So um, I would love to release some other Adam Sandler movies, but some of the ones that I really want are with studios we don't have deals with. So.
Well, if you don't have any other announcements, I guess let's get into some audience questions. We have
Sure.
really good ones this time. This one, I feel like you've answered some version of this many times, but for those who are new to the show, it might be good to just, talk a little bit about this. But Nicholas Crispolucci is asking, who determines to remaster a DVD to Blu-ray, and does it cost a lot to do?
I'm sorry, what was that again?
Who determines, I guess, what to remaster, or to remaster a DVD to Blu-ray, and does it cost a lot to do?
I'm the one that, as far as the classics are concerned, it's all my decision. So we put out, we barely release any more DVDs now, but so it's Blu-ray to 4K maybe. Titles that we decide we take a chance on to put out on 4K are titles that, outside of the no-brainers. Everybody knows that titles like Silence of the Lambs or Mad Max and titles like that, anybody's going to put those out on 4K. But outside of on films that we kind of decide later that we're going to take a chance on, like Into the Ninja or Revenge of the Ninja or something like that, we look at the history of the Blu-ray and see how it's done. And if it's done very well, then we're going to do a new transfer. Doing a regular HD transfer is not that expensive, even if it's from a 4K or 2K scan. Doing an HDR Dolby Vision Master is very expensive. So we have to be very careful about which titles we put out on 4K. Now, we've put out some lesser titles on 4K, mainly because the masters were available to us free of charge, and in some cases not even for any additional fees. So that's why some smaller films have gotten released on 4K. But it's got to be those were handed to us, and it was like a perfect situation to put them out. But in most cases, when it comes from picking up a title and picking up the 4K rights and doing it from scratch, that decision is usually up to me. If the other departments have usually films that they want to do, they usually ask my opinion and say, "Hey, do you think we should put this out on 4K or not?" And I usually give them my opinion. And 95% of the time, they listen to me. So,
Because you are the man. Alex Bledsoe asks, audio commentaries are huge for me, and Kino does a great job with them. How do you decide which films merit them?
well, at this point, we kind of do an early commentary for at least every release we have, almost every release. If the film already has a lot of extras and already has a director's commentary or 2 commentaries or something, we usually don't offer it to historians. But in some cases, I'm like, you know what? Even though, the Rundown with Dwayne Johnson had 2 commentaries on there, and we still did a historian one, because sometimes the fans enjoy those more than the director ones, because they want to hear a more enthusiastic kind of a view of the fan watching the film and talking about it and stuff like that. So we usually do commentaries for all our releases. And as far as extras, other extras are concerned, if the actors are still around or some of the people are still around, we reach out to them. There's some people we don't even reach out to because we know there's no way they're going to do an interview. People might say, "Well, you should try." I'm like, I've been doing this for way too long, so I know there's some people you're just not gonna ever gonna get to sit down to do for an interview. When there is somebody that I like, a few years ago we reached out to Clint Eastwood, mainly because, not because I think Clint Eastwood wanted to talk about his own films, but I felt like he would talk about his early days with Universal and his connection to Don Siegel, and maybe talk about Charlie Varick and Madigan, and just go on, and some of his early films that he did at Universal were directed by Don Siegel. We felt like he would probably talk about that more than he would talk about his own film. So, and at one point he was interested, but then I think he decided to do Crime Macho, and decided that he wasn't, as people told us, he wasn't available no more. But yeah, so I decide what extras we're gonna do. So.
Okay. Miguel Carrillo is asking, has a music license ever held up or prevented a release of a Blu-ray? Is there ever an instance where you alter the music in the film if the music license wasn't cleared?
We have never altered anything. We've released titles that would alter music. The studio has done that, but very few we've done that we've released with altered music. Most of the films, like Slaughter's Big Ripoff, that has altered music. That's one of the reasons I've kind of stayed away from it. And I think now it's already out. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Shout put it out in their big Black Rotation box set. In some cases, we've looked into clearing the original music, and we've done that in the past. I did it years ago for WUSA. We had to clear the Neil Diamond song. But in most cases, no. But yes, there are a lot of big movies that were not released for a long, long time, and now slowly are coming back out, or because of music. But sometimes there's other reasons too. That whenever they say legal issues, it's not always. Rights could be questioned. The author the film was based on sometimes blocks releases. So there's many different reasons. Like a film like Darker Than Amber is not available mainly because the author's estate is blocking it. So,
are music rights usually built into overall rights when you acquire, or do you have to go and clear music rights, mute the music?
Well, it depends who their lawyers were when they did these deals. Originally, when you pick up a movie, you make sure you clear the music for the theatrical and television and all that. That's what it was in the old days. Then home video came out when it was VHS tapes and Betamax tapes and all of that. And a lot of studios went back and cleared those rights for those formats when they could. In some cases, some films never came out on VHS, mainly because of that, because the asking price was too high. And then the smarter labels made sure that they're not just clearing VHS, but also other formats, other future formats. And in some cases, it was done the right way, where the film was cleared once and it came out on VHS and then Laserdisc and then DVD and then Blu-ray and 4K. Then in some cases, they had used the word videotape instead of home entertainment. And so the lawyers, again, found a loophole and asked for more money. And that's why certain big movies were never released on DVD. So
That makes sense. Wording is everything. Curtis Scott is asking or saying, as an industry insider, I would appreciate your insight. I've been waiting for Disney to cave and release the rights to the 20th Century Fox back catalog for years for films like The Towering Inferno, Poseidon Adventures, and Young Frankenstein. Should I give up all hope?
no, because they may do some of those themselves. Those are major ones. So Anniversary, maybe, whenever the anniversary of these films come up, maybe they'll do them. Unfortunately, the smaller films are going to get stuck there for a while until they change their policy. At this point, they're not licensing things. I reach out to them once in a while. I haven't talked to them in a long time, so maybe I should knock on the door one more time. But We would love to release the Fox library. We had done it in the past. We would love to also release some of the unreleased titles that Touchstone and Hollywood and all those titles that they own that they never put out on Blu-ray or 4K. We would love to do some of those, but uh, it's not a situation about us not trying. We continue to try, and I'm sure our competitors also all trying. So it's a company decision, and they have to agree to do it.
So maybe they shouldn't give up hope just yet, but
Well, from their side of it, even like a really nice advance from a company like ours doesn't really move the needle for them too much. These are billion-dollar corporations, big-time companies, and their lawyers cost money, and their all these departments and all this other stuff. The additional work that is involved in approving everything and
I used to work at
clearing the extras and all of that stuff costs. So I don't think they see it as a profitable proposition, or even if it is profitable, it's such a minor amount that they just would rather not deal with it. So
yeah, a lot of lawyers to go through. Kevin Wallen Weber asked, would you ever consider more classic animation to be released on physical media? I have no specifics, but there's a lot of animation out there that really needs full and complete restoration.
there's some animation that's restored by Paramount that we haven't put out. I'll be honest with you, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. I've been asked this a bunch of different times. We've released a lot of animation, and none of them have done really very well for us. The only animation that we've released that have actually sold well for us were the Ant and the Aardvark and the Inspector and the Pink Panthers. The whole complete series did well. Those are the only ones, and that we could call profitable. Everything that we released, we really struggled with. So, I I'll be honest. If some of the Disney stuff was available to me, or some of the Warner Bros. Cartoons, or some of the MGM stuff like Tom and Jerry or stuff like that was available, I would probably I would release. And then, but Universal has Woody Woodpecker. Would that sell on Blu-ray? I don't know. I've thought about it, and there was also the characters that appeared in the Woody Woodpecker cartoons, and so it's just, I don't know. I would say it has to be the right situation, and it has to be a situation where they're all been remastered, and the advance is not, the request is not for too much. They accept a smaller MG, then maybe we could do something. But at this point, no.
Okay, that makes sense. Benny Hasa says, not sure if much has changed, but with there being thousands of great Japanese films available to license, any chance for Kino to do a studio deal with a Japanese company?
No, because everybody else is doing it. I mean, we've looked into it. They sent us the list, but what's really left? I'll be honest with you. I really don't think there's much left. Most of the key ones have been either licensed or under license by somebody, and they're just holding on to them and not releasing them. There's with Arrow and Criterion and Shout and other companies. I think they've really kind of covered the whole, not just Japanese, but Asian cinema. I would love to release some of the stuff. I mean, years ago we did that whole deal with Tide Point, when we put out Takeshi Miike's Dead or Alive and a few other ones. And those did well, but when we try to release the classics, the Toei and the Toho stuff from the classic stuff, they never did well for us. So that kind of gave me, it's kind of giving me cold feet when it comes to stuff like that. There are a few titles here and there that if I get an opportunity to re-release, I would do them.
Do you think that's more of a Kino cult, like that would fit better under the Kino cult banner?
No, it depends. If it's like a really culty type of a thing, yeah, it would be under Kino Club. No, Kino Studio Classics was fine. We released Thirst, and I've released some Asian films, under the Kino Lorber brand, but I just don't think it has anything to do with if it's Kino Cult or Kino Studio Classics. Is that it just depends on what it is. If there's enough demand for it, it's going to sell well on either brand. So
Robert Small is saying, I have a VHS tape I would like to convert to a DVD or Blu-ray. Is this possible? And how would I connect with a person or firm that is able to do this?
well, there are places that could do that for you. They'll just capture it from the VHS and digitize it and even upres it sometimes, but it's not going to look good. So you could do that. As far as asking somebody to release a film that you're a fan of, you can send your request to any label you want. Are they going to listen to that request? I don't know, but they'll see it. So
James Smith III asks, ever thought of releasing some children's TV movies from the 70s that have never been released on DVD? Specials like The Enormous Egg, the Miss Pickerel TV movies, and Papa and Me?
no,
No, they're children.
no. TV movies are pretty much horror, sci-fi, or nothing. Majority of I could tell you some cult movies like a film where friends are lost in the woods and they're being attacked by animals. Stuff like that would do well. They kind of fall into the horror genre. Um, um, but majority of the films that are not out, the TV movies that are not out, that I'm interested in releasing are horror films, and most of them are not cleared, or they're with studios that I haven't done deals with. Um, that kind of stuff, the children's stuff, maybe as a collection, somebody could put it out. But again, they have to be remastered. They have to be. No, who's gonna spend, you know, pick up like 10 of those movies and spend, you know, close to six figures on mastering them and then put them out and hope that somebody would buy them. It's just I don't see it. So
Okay, there you go.
and the thing is that I've tried releasing uh, westerns and dramas and stuff like that on television, TV movies on Blu-ray and on DVD. And I know Scorpion was a fan of those, and they would put them out too when Walt was alive. Um, they just never did well. So
Okay, and then of course children's TV movies will probably make it much more difficult. So someone who didn't leave a name, very mysterious, is asking, is Kino going to do more double and triple feature Blu-rays in the near future?
when the right opportunity comes, when it's something that makes sense, I don't do double features for the sake of doing double features. FX and FX2 made sense. The sequels to In the Heat of the Night made sense. Salt and Pepper and One More Time, same actors, same characters, made sense. I'm not gonna double feature two films starring Charlton Heston or two films starring. It just why would I do that if they have nothing to do with each other? Um, but yeah, we've done a few. We did the missing in action films. We put those out on as a collection and also separately. Sometimes we put them in a boxes. Sometimes we do double features. Um, I think we just did the Sylvia Sidney pre-code films as a double feature. We're going to do the Jack Benny movies as double feature a little bit later. Um, but yeah, when they make sense.
What for you? What makes like interesting criteria to make it a double feature?
When they have something in common. A lot of double features I see done by studios makes me cringe. I just don't understand what the hell they're doing. They films that are not comedies, they put them in a comedy box set, or they put two films. I don't want to pick on the other labels, but two films that have nothing to do with each other, just have the same actor in them. They're completely different types of fans. One is going to be a lighthearted action adventure movie. That's going to be like an R-rated, graphic, nasty film. And those two films, the same fans are not going to be watching both of those films. Maybe I would, but I'm a crazy movie fan. But maybe I would in long time or old days. But the majority of the people are not going to want both of those films on the same disc. They would either want that or they would want this. So, and then so you have to be very careful about how you create the double features.
Having the same act.
It just has to make sense, you know. So
Kara Lockhart asks, what other Golden Age titles, such as from the Universal Library, including the 1929 to 1948 Paramount titles, may be coming in the near future?
well, we don't. I'm not going to sit around and confirm titles that we're working on, but there's a few titles in the new package that I'm working on. A few films from the 30s, I think a few, and maybe a few from the 40s that we have in the list and the deal.
Okay. Mike asks, what's your lowest selling 4K and your highest selling 4K? If you're able to.
Well, the highest is the Good, Bad, and the Ugly. It's been that for a long, long time. We have some other really great selling 4Ks, but the Good, Bad, and the Ugly is another level. Lowest, I don't know. It's probably something I just came out. But if you want to talk about something that's been out for at least a year, I'm not really sure. There's a few, probably the some of the Studio Canal titles that we put out on 4K just for this because they were available. We never had a high expectation of those. We never thought they were going to sell 5 to 10,000 copies. We were expecting 3 to 4,000, and if they may have hit that, or they may have not. So,
Got it. David Hollingsworth asks, what do you think is the best release for those who don't happen to own Kino titles?
I'm sorry, what was that again?
What do you think is the best release for those who don't happen to own Kino titles? So I guess he's asking, if you don't own any Kino titles,
Recommend somebody from a title from another label?
No, I
Is that
mean,
what he
and then what's the best release for if you don't have any Kino titles? Where do you start? That's how I'm interpreting.
Oh, where to
Question.
start? Well, it depends what kind of films you like, right? And this is the kind of thing that I used to just kind of, I don't want to disrespect this person, but this is the kind of thing that used to annoy me when I used to be the head buyer for Kim's Video. People used to say, can you make a recommendation? I'm like, well, what do you like? I could recommend Clockwork Orange, take it home and it'll scare the crap out of you. So I got to know your taste. What do you like? As far as my taste, as far as what I would recommend, I would recommend, of course, The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, the Sergio Leone trilogy. I would recommend Silence of the Lambs. I would recommend Touch of Evil, and The Train. Death Wish. 3 Days of the Condor. Escape from Alcatraz. Just giving you some of my favorites. Marathon Man. So.
Those are all great ones to start with. So it is a good
Yeah.
answer.
And if you want to go to older titles on Blu-ray and stuff like that, there's a lot. We have some great Billy Wilder titles. We have some great titles starring, we have a huge collection of films starring Burt Lancaster, and we have a huge collection of films starring other great actors. So, Taking a Pelham 123 is one of my favorites. So that would be one I would recommend.
Lot to start with. Basically, what your favorite genre is, go to that on the Kino Lorber website and see what's there and start there.
Yeah. And if you're gonna ask these type of questions, it would be great if you tell me what you like. If you could tell me your taste, then I could give you a better recommendation. So
There you go. You heard it here first. Steve Douglas asks, while Kino Lorber does a very good job on their boutique releases in terms of cleaning up the film's video quality, why do they fail when it comes to the audio? Why do they not remix the audio properly so that we get a fully remastered audio rather than a simple transcoding of the Blu-ray?
that's also not true. Some of the films we go back to the mags and do new audio restoration, but in most cases the audio has already been cleaned up by the studio. So what we get handed is what's given us. So that when the audio has already been remastered by the studio, there's no reason for us to go back and just redo the whole thing all over again and call it brand new audio restoration. In some cases, like Xanadu, fans requested us to find the 4.0 stereo for that. We went and found it, located it. It cost us a little bit of money to do it. As far as Dolby Atmos is concerned, it's very pricey. I would love to do it for some of my favorite movies, some of the bigger movies, some of the bigger action films, and some of the bigger sound films. Um, and I think the new releases of Dante's Peak and maybe Daylight, but at least Dante's Peak, I think, is going to have Dolby Atmos, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think they're going to have them. So
A couple people actually, speaking of Dante's Peak and Daylight, a couple people have asked about those specific. I know we don't like to talk about specific titles.
no, Dante's Peak and Daylight, I've been told it's going to be ready. It's going to be ready. You're going to get it in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's been back and back. We've been going back and forth. Now it looks like we may get Daylight before Dante's Peak. So originally I thought we did schedule Dante's Peak about a month ago, thinking we were going to get the masters, but we were misinformed. So we're hoping their director approved restorations, and we're just waiting to receive the masters so we could put them out.
Okay, great. So soon. Brent Robinson is asking, and I feel like you've been asked this before too. What is one movie that hasn't been announced to 4K Ultra HD or even Blu-ray that you would like to see make it on that format?
Well, as films that I cannot release, there's thousands, probably hundreds of them, not thousands, but at least hundreds of films that I would love to release on 4K, but they're just pipe dreams. They're not available to me, So
What's one that pops into your head, at the top of your...
I hate saying always Bullet and Getaway, but those are two. Where Eagles Dare, of course, would be one major one for me. The Professionals, and there are a lot of there are lots of films. I mean, there are lots. I mean, from the key, Point Blank, and Bad Day at Black Rock. I'm just giving you some films that I love. That I Station Zebra will be really fun to do. It's not a great movie, but it's like a really fun movie, and it's the kind of film that deserves 4K because it's gonna look great, and it's. But there's stuff like that,
Bill Greco asks, when a film is restored, are all technologies, for example, Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, DTS, etc., sampled on a part of the film? For example, is Dolby Vision applied and compared to see if the picture can be improved enough without it?
No, if we decide if we're going to do Dolby Vision or not, I'll be honest with you. For me, we just do it because fans want it. I personally don't. I like HDR10 better than Dolby Vision. I probably like SDR better than Dolby Vision. I actually think SDR is probably what I enjoy watching the most. But again, I'm in the minority. The fans think that we're being cheap sometimes when we do SDR. But if something is offered to us free of charge at SDR, I'm not gonna. I mean, I could go and easily try to work off that and create an HDR, but that's a cheap way to do it, and we don't want to cheat. So then something like that gets released on the SDR only. But I personally think that I'm not a big Dolby Vision fan, and I think that a lot of the releases that people have problems playing on certain machines is Dolby Vision. So
there you go. Logan Isaacs asks, are there any plans to release more silent films? If so, any hints at what will be released?
No hints. We have a couple right now on the license from, I think, from Photoplay. Those are going to come out soon. Whenever the packages get offered to us from, there was one or two that I asked for from Universal, and they could not clear them. So they're not going to come out. But silent films are also very risky when it comes to releasing them. Outside of them majors, Nosferatu and The General and Caligari and Phantom of the Opera and Hunchback of Notre Dame and stuff like that. Majority of the Man Who Laughs. You take out the major ones. The other ones are all very risky. They're not big sellers, So
Got it. That makes sense. Dan asks, do you have any recommendations for a cheap 4K player that will play anything? I get a lot of discs from the library, and my UB820 often struggles to play through the scratches. I'd like to get a second player to have as a backup. Thanks.
I couldn't recommend a player. I have the player I have is fine. I know that 4K discs are region free, and 4K discs play DVDs and Blu-rays. So I would say probably the higher end players are going to have better capability of playing stuff with scratches and stuff on them. But it all depends on the scratch. If it's a deep scratch or something like that, the disc is damaged. It's nothing's gonna, no machine's gonna play that.
What player do you have?
I have a Samsung. I don't know the brand. When I bought the TV 4K TV, I bought that too. So
Okay, so yeah, pretty much the higher end, the better. Let's see. Steve asks, this is a long one. Thanks for doing these episodes, Frank. Love tuning into the conversation. My question is, do you think there's a particular genre that most benefits from 4K upgrades or restorations? My first Kino Lorber purchase was the 4K of 3 Days of the Condor, and ever since I find myself drawn to fillers, especially Spycraft, since those films thrive on detailed depth of field and close-up to fill the frame. But obviously, genres like Western, sci-fi, 70s Americana, and more all benefit too. So do you think there's one genre that clearly sees the biggest upgrade from professional restoration?
yeah, I mean, I would say the stuff that is shot on location. Films that are beautifully shot. It's all about cinematography. If it's a film that 3 Days of the Condor has some really great cinematography in it. It's taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, stuff like that is going to look amazing on 4K. So I think, the more genre stuff, the more epic stuff, the stuff that's shot really well and has great cinematographers attached to them, those films are the ones that I would say, a small black and white film, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf or something like that. It's a great little film, but do I want to upgrade if I have that on Blu-ray, I'm going to buy a 4K of it that gets released? I doubt it. I don't even have it on Blu-ray, but I'm just saying if I did have it on Blu-ray. Because my Blu-ray collection right now is very much stuff that I know I'm going to watch within a year or two. If I don't watch it within a year or two, I donate it to Friends, Salvation Army, something like that, because I'm just like, I don't want to have stuff on my shelf just for the sake of having them. I'm not trying to. I never try to impress anybody with my collection. I'm never going to be that person. So I don't care how many awards this won and how important it is, or how great it is, or how great the performance is. Something like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is like a really good film. Great performances. I loved it when I watched it. I doubt I'll ever watch it again. So that's why I'm saying some fans want everything to come out on 4K. That's never gonna happen. Even if the prices completely come down, even if authoring comes down to the Blu-ray rate, it's not gonna happen because a lot of films, the smaller films, if most people that have the Blu-ray, they're fine with it because it's gonna look very good. If you have a good 4K TV and a good 4K player, and the film is already from a 4K or 6K restoration, it's going to look great on your TV. So it being released on HDR Dolby Vision is not going to improve the picture quality that much. This is not like VHS versus DVD or DVD versus Blu-ray. This is not that. It's very, very close. It's just a little bit better, a little bit sharper, a little bit more resolution. So I think that that even if the prices completely went down, not everything deserves 4K. So
that makes sense. And I feel like this person answered his own question. The genres he listed in his question are probably the genres that benefit the most from the upgrade. So I think.
Yeah, I mean, listen, horror is one of the best genres on 4K, but a lot of horror movies are badly shot. They're low budget. They're not great looking films. It's just because it's horror. The genres that really, really scream 4K are the action films and the adventure films and the westerns and the war films and and the sci-fi films, the ones that are really visually stunning. Those are the films. How many horror films are visually stunning?
R-
Shining.
I mean, the grimier, but
There's some.
yeah,
Yeah, there's some. I'm not saying there's none, but most of the horror films, you know,
blanket
uh,
lo-fi. Yeah.
yeah, they're low budget films. They were made with second tier cinematographers and second tier filmmakers usually. So
Aaron asks, would you consider releasing more titles starring Cher? She's an iconic performer, and Kino has done her proud in the past with Good Times and So
I
Forth.
think it's the same person from the last time. Loves Cher. Hey, I'm a Cher fan. I like Cher. I used to love the Sunny and Cher TV show. So when it was on syndication, I'm not old enough to have seen it originally, but um, I don't. No. I mean, listen. If the right movie's available to me, like if Moonstruck was available to put out on 4K, I would do that. If Suspect was available to me for a new restoration to put out on Blu-ray, I don't think it's a 4K release. I would do that. We put out Silkwood, which she's great in. Meryl Streep is great in. And I would release her films. We also put out her Sonny and Cher movie that Friedkin directed. The Sonny and Cher film that William Friedkin directed. We put that out also. I forgot the name of it. But am I going out looking for a movie starring Cher? No, I'm not. So.
Got it. Somebody asked about Night of the Juggler, which I saw a great interview with you in the New York Times. So I don't know if you wanted to talk about that in general a little bit. But Robert said, thank you so much for finally getting Night of the Juggler out on physical media. Just curious to know if Kino may have eyes on another Arnold Coppelson production from the same era, the comedy Foolin' Around, or another great James Brolin movie titled High Risk, which has sadly languished in the public domain purgatory.
No, Iris is not public domain. It's owned by Viacom. I asked for it. It's with some other label. It's going to come out. It's a very good film. It's like a fun movie with a great cast. It's not in the level of Juggler as a film. Not that Juggler is a much better movie, but High Risk is a lot of fun. Now, see, there's a good example of two films, Juggler and High Risk. You could probably double feature them as two James Brolin starring films. But the people that would enjoy High Risk as a light-hearted action-adventure type of a film, PG rated, we're probably not gonna. A lot of those type of people may not enjoy something like as rough and hardcore as Juggler. So I wouldn't double feature those two, and I wouldn't double feature the car with Juggler. It's different, Like as I said, it has to be similar type of titles, maybe starring the same kind of a person. So as far as Juggler is concerned, Juggler has been like one of my holy grail titles that I've been a fan of for a long, long time. And in the interview, I mentioned that I couldn't see it when it came out. It barely stayed in theaters, and besides that, my parents would not let me see it. I was too little, too young. And when it came on HBO, I saw that it was playing on 2 times, and there was no way I was going to be able to watch the 8 p.m. Sunday night one because my dad watched TV 8 p.m. Sunday night. So whatever he was watching, if we were allowed to see it, we would sit with him and watch it. So the second screening was at 3:45 a.m. on a weekday, and I woke up in the middle of the night, went downstairs, hit the eject button, but had my hand on it because it was a Magnavox one that snapped and made really loud noise. So I didn't want to wake up anybody. So I slowly brought it up, put the tape in there, and recorded Night of the Juggler, and saw it over the weekend when my parents went to Long Island for shopping. So that's how I saw it, and I've never seen it. Look the way it looks now. I've never seen it letterboxed or anything like that. So it was a dream project of mine. I was so happy to see that James Brolin agreed to do an interview. We were hoping to get some other interviews also, and Julie Carmen I'm very happy she did an interview for us. It's one of the best of its kind. It's kind of a vigilante movie, but it's not really. It's more about a father trying to find. It's not. It's more of an action-packed version of like something like Hardcore. Same seedy New York. That's Los Angeles or New York. Like both showing the seedy side of these big cities and the nastiness and all that stuff. But I remember when I used to talk to Walt about it, Walt from Scorpion, God bless his soul, he used to be a big fan of the movie, him and his brother, but he was always telling me, "Oh, Frank, so you grew up in New York around that time." And I was like, "Yeah, I was pretty young, but yeah, was it as bad as that movie?" I was like, "Well, if you went out looking for it, yeah, probably, but movies always exaggerated what." Years ago, I worked in a store. I was, I think, 16, 17 years old, maybe no, 18 years old. There was a souvenir store by Carnegie Hall, and a lady and her husband walked in. They were tourists, and they bought a couple of T-shirts and stuff like that. And she's like, "Well, I want to go to Macy's, and what's the best way for me to do it?" And I was like, "Well, there's a train right there. You just take it. The subway." And she was like, she thought she was gonna go to the subway and get killed. I was like, "No, subway is safe. This is not Death Wish." I said, and late at night, I said, if you, even then it's safe if you stay in the right area. They have like a yellow area where they light up, and most of the people that don't want to get bothered usually stand in that spot. You go to an empty car by yourself, you better be, ready for people to harass you, because that's going to happen. So, what's that? This was I was like late '80s when I was just right out of high school, and I remember seeing Secret of My Success, and in that movie, the first day he's in New York, he's on a phone and there's a shootout going on, and I'm like, they need to stop doing this shit, because New York, that's not New York. I've lived in New York all my life. I've never seen a shootout. So, and I've been to some really bad neighborhoods, some dangerous neighborhoods. I used to work for a public access TV music video channel, and they used to send us to all these clubs in the Bronx and all of that for interview the hip hop artists and the graffiti artists and all that stuff. Leaving those places at 4 o'clock in the morning, believe me, yeah, you especially when everybody left and they forgot to tell you they were leaving, and then you're by yourself, well dressed. It wasn't. You had to find a way to. All right, I know the streets. Was it as bad as Fort Apache the Bronx or something like that? That's another movie that I love. I would love to read Fort Apache the Bronx, but of course, it's stuck with Warner Brothers. So
I love that we have
and
so many movies in our collection of the gritty New York from the 70s and 80s. I feel like we could have a whole playlist of just that.
well, there's books about him. The guy that interviewed me wrote a book about it. I know that there's a bunch of documentaries about Fun City and about how New York City, the iconic scenes of 42nd Street is usually a Taxi Driver and his Shaft. Those are the two that really stand out. But there's so many movies that were shot in location, like Report to the Commissioner, and then there's like stuff like Taking a Pelham 123 and stuff like that. They're all shot on location in New York City too. So. You have Death Wish. You have other films like that, and so yeah, New York was always like a third character or second character in these movies. It's like such a cinematic city. Movies that are shot in New York, the Seven Ups, French Connection, stuff like that, King of New York. There's something about them. The only other city that kind of makes me think that has a little bit of that is Chicago. And I guess where you live also is a very. They don't shoot too many movies in New Orleans, but I know like the Big Easy was one of them, and we were talking about the Pelican Brief and stuff like that. But when you see New Orleans, you're like, yeah, that's New Orleans. It's like there's not too many other places. Like when you see New York, when you see Chicago, you're like, yeah, no, you recognize them right away. And I guess Los Angeles to a point, but in San Francisco, but
Yeah, maybe Miami to a degree, and yeah, certain cities just have that character. It shows up as its own character in films.
yeah, I mean, like when you think about classic Miami movies, of course, you think about Scarface, but you also think about like 8 Million Ways to Die and Miami Vice, the TV show, and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, man, you're making me want to move back to New York. Well, I guess I think this is a good place to wrap up. Any other announcements or anything else you'd like to cover before we wrap?
I would just ask the fans to be patient. We never intend to announce something and release it a year and a half to 2 years later. It just happens. Right now, Babe and Babe Pig in the City.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
They're with we're waiting for George Miller to have some free time to look at it. In some cases, the director decides, you know what, I'm taking too long. You guys go ahead. I don't need to see it or show it to show it to my cinematographer. But in a lot of the cases, the directors are going to be, they want to be very much involved. In some cases, the directors get involved and shouldn't be involved because they may have lost a little bit of their eyesight and stuff like that. But that there's nothing is you cannot tell people. Well, we had a situation one time where the filmmaker was seeing something with the master that nobody else was, and the changes he wanted to make to the film would have made it look horrible. And how are you going to tell somebody who's a legendary filmmaker that we cannot do these changes because it's not going to look right? So that's one of the things. And then there's times where people don't respond to us. They hold the film element, they hold the camera negative, and we could continue sending them emails and emails and emails. And eventually we're like, all right, let's just drop the movie and go pick up something else. And in some cases, the filmmakers are very demanding. So we're not we have to be very careful on how much we spend on these films, because not all of these are going to be huge sellers. So there's reason why films get announced. And like I said, we're kind of thinking about that we may slow this down a little bit and only announce things on weekends when we are sure it's going to come out within a couple of months, and not announce stuff early on because you run into these issues, So
Yeah. Well, like you said, thank you everyone for your patience. All right, well, that's it. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And thank you to those who submitted your awesome questions. Frank, thank you as always for your insight. And you can find the titles we discussed today, along with thousands of others, at kinolorber.com. That link is in the description below. While you're there, sign up for our newsletter. And if you're not following us on social, please be sure to do that. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Frank. We'll be back next month with episode 14. So we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.